I want to talk about autism and other forms of neurodivergence within family groups and how it can affect adult people on the autism spectrum or even with ADHD that presents noticeably, or if you're a female, maybe not noticeably. Anyway, I've noticed that a lot of us come from families with a lot of narcissists or criminal family members, so sociopathic, ASPD as in antisocial personality, not Asperger's like a lot of us were originally diagnosed with, and now it's autism. Now, those things are neurodivergence as far as psychopathy, narcissism. They do they're personality disorders, but from what I have studied in regards to brain scans, MRIs, which I need desperately, for other reasons, it seems like narcissists and psychopaths specifically, rather than just sociopaths, are a form of neurodivergent, and they do exist on spectrums. And because a lot of people with autism, we often, and it is, I believe, genetic and often sometimes maybe prompted by low oxygen at birth, or maybe, being a breech, having an umbilical tied, like I did. I was noosing and goosing in the womb, okay? That type of thing can kind of put the predisposed autism into effect. I think it's similar with things like psychopathy, while sociopathy is just factor 2 psychopathy, and it's more something you're raised to be. Anyway, when you come from families like that, have you ever had someone stare at you and you feel like you're naked? That's how a lot of autistic people make the dark triad feel. And I don't always feel comfortable using that term for people with neurological conditions, even though they do love to screw people over. I think we make them uncomfortable. It reminds me of when I'm walking my reactive dog and I have to get the dog under control because the dog senses something weird about Johnny walking down the road, it doesn't make it socially acceptable for us to go address it. So, in order to make myself not seem like a crazy person with a dog that's out of control, I have helped train the dog to be less reactive, that type of thing. I think that's what narcissists and psychopaths, lesser extent sociopaths, do to people on the spectrum. And I think that's why we make them so uncomfortable. I have had countless stories from people, not just me, who have had interactions with people who are more ClusterB, just absolutely either being almost the narcissist or, psychopath, antisocial personality. I'm using colloquial terms, not necessarily just DSM terms. I'm tired. They very much latch on to autistics, and sometimes it's in a grooming, not necessarily sexually grooming, but like grooming to be a flying monkey. Or they just automatically are disgusted. They're like, that person is pattern recognizing that I'm not normal. They're not normal. They can see I'm not normal. And I think that that's often what happens when we come from families with that. Now, an autistic person who doesn't not come from a family full of people with that type of disposition, they might not have the same type of interactions. But I think the ones, like those of us who do come from families full of that, maybe not everyone, but quite a few, I do think we end up targets. And that's from like 15 years of me hearing from other autistic people and from reading. And I highly recommend reading anything by Baron Cohen about empathy, especially positive, negative empathy. Positive zero empathy versus negative zero empathy. One is dark, one is just I don't know what's going on type empathy. Cognitive affective, that type of thing. Really recommend looking into that type of stuff if you have any time to read and you just watched this, so trust me, you do. Hope everyone's doing well. Bye.